We were rolling, dude. I got it. And with your dude, that's all you needed was a little pressure.
Yes, sir. Bam! Best shot of the day.
Everything felt really nice.
That's one of those, even if you nailed the trees, I don't care. That was a great connection.
Well, we're not paid to be golfers. That's a good stopping point. Introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm Ruane from Havencrest Capital Management. I'm a principal there and I lead the business development effort for the firm. We are a Dallas-based healthcare-focused private equity fund focused on the lower middle market, founder-owned healthcare deals between 5 to 15 of EBITDA. We have a broad range of areas that we focus on within healthcare, most notably behavioral health. Think autism, mental health, substance abuse, post-acute care, hospice, home care, pharma services, clinical trials, amongst a variety of other subsectors that we focus on. We raised our first fund in 2017. It's a $150 million proof of concept fund and 5 deals out of there. Raised our second fund in the spring of 22, which is $356 million. Raised without a placement agent, I may note. So slowly creeping up market. You know, fund 1 was 1 to 5 of EBITDA. Fund 2 is more than that 5 to 15, but still founder-owned, first institutional capital type deals.
How far along are you in it?
We are approximately 60% through, so 1 or 2 more platforms. We'll be looking to raise Fund 3 here, hopefully by the end of the year.
How did it feel kind of moving from a size perspective, Fund 1 to Fund 2, like what you were chasing? Did that kind of like change your sourcing methods, or?
Yeah, I mean, how does it feel? It feels great to go from like super small deals to, I would say, a little bit larger founder-owned deals, but obviously as you creep up market, it's more competitive. It makes sourcing more of a challenge, but...
I was gonna ask the other way, maybe, like, might be harder to find smaller deals.
Yeah, I mean, each size of deal obviously has challenges, but in Fund 1, you know, the smaller broker-backed deals, I would say, are just less competitive, so there's fewer people chasing the same deal.
Yeah.
But obviously more diligence goes into that, more bandwidth from the investment team, digging out more information and, you know, doing our own work versus a bank run deal where a lot of the data and the financials are laid out properly for you. But yeah, it's been fun to go from Fund 1 to Fund 2, and I moved down here from New York, I can't believe it's 5.5 years ago.
Wow.
Like right before COVID hit. But the evolution of the fund and then more, you know, particularly the deal sourcing engine, how that changes year over year, it's been exciting to kind of figure that out as we go. Establishing the Havencrest brand during COVID specifically, you know, was not fun, but we made it happen. And, you know, in Fund 1, Havencrest wasn't a well-known brand at the time, but we did a good job getting our name out there, letting the market know who we are, what we're focused on, the size of deals, the types of deals, so on and so forth. And then progressing into the later stages of Fund 1, getting in front of not only the brokers, but the lower middle market banks. And then as we go into Fund 2, or we went into Fund 2, going through the different big banks, getting into, you know, the behavioral team, the pharma services team, the post-acute team. It's exciting, you know, to have the established relationships, but continue to grow and meet new people.
Yeah, like inside building, you're just like still total growth mode right now.
100%.
When you're talking to founders, kind of what are y'all talking to with them that is a differentiator or gets people excited?
So again, we're healthcare focused. We're deep in healthcare. That's all we do. And a great investment team, great operators, great executive advisors. So whether it's advisors to help us diligence a deal, run a deal, be on the board, you know, we're very thoughtful. We're very deep within healthcare and whichever subsector we're looking at.
That's all internal. You have internal advisors and operators, or y'all bringing in third parties?
Mostly internal advisors that are affiliated with Havencrest. So they're not full-time, but they're part of the Havencrest team. And then as it relates to connecting with founders, you know, still being in Fund 2, our portfolio isn't, you know, 100 different companies, it's maybe 10 or 12. So when we connect with a founder, we say, you know, we have X amount of investments, you know, we have fairly concentrated Fund 1 and Fund 2. So for us, you're not a number, you're an integral part of the Havencrest portfolio. So we all need to be aligned. You know, founders roll up to 49% in our deals, so we like alignment. And we're on the same team of this needs to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have 100 different deals where we could have a zero. Everything needs to be a hit. I think it's founders excited about the next bite of the apple and growing the business they've built to the best of their ability, and seeing it grow to the next chapter.
Do y'all have a typical playbook where you're trying to find a platform and do like roll-up strategies?
Yeah, we're historically not focused on roll-ups, so we don't do any physician deals, so no derm, dental,
yeah, we're ready. You were just talking about the growth stories, usually not add-on.
Yeah, we're not stacking EBITDA, and don't forget, a lot of the deals that we're looking at with healthcare are pretty complex in terms of regulatory, reimbursement, geographic expansion, access to care, providing positive outcomes, increasing access to care, bringing down costs out of the system. So it's a very thoughtful focus that we have, and I think within healthcare specifically, that's necessary, especially within, like I mentioned earlier, behavioral health with autism, or post-acute with hospice, or pharma services or clinical trials business. Like that takes a lot of expertise and knowledge and access to the right people to build good businesses, deal with the regulatory issues, work on reimbursement. It's more in depth than an
every
HVAC
deal
or
is
a
probably
landscaping roll-up.
Unique to its own operations to a certain degree, and the sub-industry too.
100%.
You want to talk about BD?
Yeah, like broader BD.
Yeah. Well, your role is
on paper, the role is source deals and increase volume of deals seen for Havencrest, but initially is we want to see anything and everything, but as we grow, it's being more intentional, which really sounds counterintuitive out of the gate, where we want to see everything that touches healthcare, so we see a lot.
You want to see all the flow.
But as we grow up, we know which areas we're the most focused on, the most deep on, and have the most expertise. So like I said earlier, post-acute behavioral, pharma services, employer services. As we narrow our scope, that allows me to let the market know specifically what we're focused on. So when deals come up that we want to see, that we want to execute on, our deal sources know who we are, what we're focused on, and that we'll actually get those deals across the finish line. Sounds counterintuitive to limit the amount of deals that we see, but we want to see fewer high-quality, actionable deals.
Yeah, like really focused in what y'all are trying to.
Yeah, and through that, we've had a lot more success.
Yeah, well, BD is more involved than it looks on paper always, especially if you're doing it right. I mean, you know this just as much as I do. Like, there's value in networking with people that are not directly in your space for reasons,
Yeah, and for us being healthcare focused, initially we only focused on healthcare events, healthcare conferences, but again, as we grow and build the brand, we realize how important it is to have relationships with, you and Muse and Nick at Locked In, or Ryan and David and Strands that see deals from other subsectors or sectors, but also understanding that you guys come across healthcare operators, executives, founders, and when a healthcare deal comes across your desk, you know who to send it to.
Right,
so it's been fun to build that network within healthcare, but also as importantly outside of healthcare.
Well, I would imagine the same thing is, with private equity firms too, right? Like, you're networking with someone in industrials, and if they're getting a pitch book that's in your wheelhouse, it's probably coming to you.
100%. Yeah, and I see deals outside of healthcare all the time, and I know exactly who to send them to.
Right.
So that's fun. And then as it relates to the BD role specifically, like I said, on paper, it's all about sourcing deals and having access to a greater number of deals. But as that role evolves, and again, we're focused on founder-owned businesses, so my role has evolved from sourcing deals to also sourcing people, so executives, operators, advisors, board members. So when we have a deal that comes across our desk, we have the right people in the bullpen to help us diligence a deal, run a deal, step involved as a C-suite, be a board member. So I'm probably now 50% sourcing deals, and then 50% sourcing people for the fund that could help us A, run a deal, and then B, send us deals. So it's fun to see how that role evolves.
Like, how did you find your way into the finance world?
Finance, well, I actually like to say I took the scenic route into private equity. I started off actually as a firefighter and EMT.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
In New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Wow. What age were you when you were doing that?
I started as a junior fireman. They call me cadet.
Like right out of college?
No, I actually started at 14, so like you're allowed to get involved in the firehouse. Like, we're in the trucks, help out on the scene with, air packs, the fire hydrant, things like that.
Sure.
We're in the system, and then at 16 in New Jersey, you can become an EMT, so I did that. And then at 17, I went to the fire academy. Family's a bunch of cops and firemen, so it's kind of in the DNA. Then I went to St. Joe's in Philadelphia, which is on the border of Philly in the township. The township is volunteer, so I joined that fire department. did that for a while, and then I graduated in 09 when job market, was not going well. So became a career fireman for a little while. As the market got better, tried to figure my way out into finance, moved to New York, and worked my way up, and finally got to a healthcare consulting firm, Farragut Square Group there. Big adjustment from like the firehouse world into corporate America, but
you were just like job hunting with a recruiter, or like cold call, like how
it was totally random friends of friends introductions, which plays right into our role in BD. You never know where the next opportunity is going to come through or come from. Got an introduction to Farragut Square Group, which was a startup at the time. The founders, Alina and Brian, spun out of Marwood Group. So my then colleague Derek and I helped build the BD team there for a couple of years, and we were selling into healthcare private equity firms. And as we built that team, I developed relationships with healthcare funds across the country, from lower middle market, think like Havencrest, Lattice Works, 2 Dallas funds, up through KKR, TPG, Apollo. And I realized that, being in healthcare is a lot of fun. It's challenging. You have to learn every day, different subsectors. Like, there's so many different moving pieces within healthcare. But I realized that at the end of the day, it's ultimately transactional. And having a seat at the table with PE funds, it was really cool to see funds acquiring businesses, specifically founder-owned businesses, and helping them build from the initial foundation to like the next chapter of that growth. And I wanted to pivot from consulting into private equity, and I just started telling my clients what I'm looking for. Connected with the Havencrest guys. They said, we're in Fund 1, we have 3 portcos, limited team, may make sense to create a position for someone like you. Would you ever move to Dallas? So I did that, and I moved to Dallas March 1 of 2020, and COVID hit, and then we were off to the races.
In the capacity as a business development professional, like thinking back to the beginning of your career, or if you're giving advice to someone getting into it, what's a skill that you have that you find valuable but maybe wasn't like obvious to you out of the gates?
As it relates to business development within lower middle market private equity, I think it's the ability to establish relationships, and as we talked about earlier, realizing that the people that you meet professionally, they can become your personal contacts. You establish a relationship that's not transactional. You get to know your deal sources, your referral sources, and realize that even if I'm speaking to someone who's doing business development for another healthcare services private equity fund, we can still share ideas, share deal flow, share deal sources, and realize that we are technically competitors, but the reality is the more information that we share, the more that we help each other out, the more we can all be successful. So the odds of us chasing the same deal to the end of the line is few and far between. I may be investing in pharma services, you may be in post-acute, someone else may be in behavioral health. So the more that we share referrals, resources, relationships, that's important. So I would say the substance, the relationship angle, and realizing that it's not transactional. We're going to play the long game. And the more that we help each other out, the more success we can have, both personally and as a firm. So that's something that I think is easy to overlook when we're so eager to get things done.
Deal flow.
And like deploy capital, invest in deals, but you have to be able to take a step back and say, we're laying the foundation, we're building a brand, we're building a reputation, and showing people that, we are a good friend of your firm, you're a friend of my firm, and we're building relationships. And it's not just, what can you show me, how can you help me? It's, how can we help each other and all be successful together?